In this tutorial, you're going to be discovering some secrets to a pain-free back. So this is going to be a very, very brief guide to 4 triggers and how you can overcome lower back pain. If you do want extra help with your lower back pain journey, please do click the link below, go through to my face-to-face or online how to overcome lower back pain consultation and coaching. Low back trigger number 1 is sitting. So do you get pain when you're sat down? Now we've got the umbrella term of sitting is triggering your lower back pain, but what we need to be able to do is break it down into a couple of other areas, and then we can break those areas down into more. So what does that mean? So the trigger is sitting. So you get pain when you sit down. Now, is it your posture, or is it the length of time that you're sat down, or is it both? So we have to understand that before we can go any further. So posture, what could things be? It could be that you're slouched. It could be that you're sat up in a great position, but that causes the problem because of the other element, which is the duration, is the fact that you're sat in this good position for a prolonged period of time. I'll come on to that in a second. But when we're talking about posture, so is it the seat that you're in? Is it the posture that you're using within the seat? Are you dumping the hips back like that, which is causing the lower back to round? Is your head forward, again, causing all the muscles of the upper back to start feeding down into the lower back? So all of these things need to be understood before we can start to solve the problem. So let's look at if it's dumping the hips in that position. So the obvious treatment to that is to sit up straight, is to get the position of your pelvis and maintain that position of the lower back. So that's one way of doing it, is literally just sitting up straight. The second one is to get some sort of cushion in your lumbar spine, so you can stay in that position. So you would tuck your bum right to the back in the corner of the seat, get the cushion, and then you would sit up straight, and that would help. The other one is to perch right on the edge, tuck that leg behind, and have that leg holding you on the seat. That will keep the pelvis tilted forwards and keep you upright. So there's some very simple methods to be able to overcome that. Now, what if duration is a problem? So if duration is a problem, so as I mentioned, you're sat up straight, you're in a great position, but your back pain is still coming through. It's probably something to do with the duration. And all that's happening is all the load is being concentrated in one place because you're sat still. So a very simple remedy to that is one of 2 things. One is change your position regularly. So that could be leaning on the armrest to the left or the right. It could be coming down, putting your elbows on the desk in front of you. It could be leaning back and leaning right back into the seat. Spreading the load around the torso. The other way of doing it is breaking up your sitting, so sit in little intervals. So if you know you get back pain at about 15 minutes, get up, 10 minutes, have a little walk around the office, have a little walk around your house, your room, whatever it might be. Have a stretch, do a couple of exercises. Spend a few minutes at the seat. Only needs to be a couple of minutes, but then come back, sit down, and carry on with your work. So that's a very brief and simple way of looking at sitting. Is it your posture? Is it the duration? How long is it? And what can you do to start overcoming and beating those triggers in your lower back? Back pain trigger number 2, lifting. Again, as we talked about with sitting, it's probably not just lifting. There's probably something else going on, so we need to break this lifting thing down. So, number 1, is it your posture that you're using to lift? So when you go down to lift, you lift from the lower back like that, and you try and lift the weight up from your lower back. If it is your posture, we've got to think about changing that. So we've got to think about getting the weight really close to us, getting the hips back, getting the spine in that neutral posture, and then being able to get down to the weight in that posture. That then leads me into sort of subcategory trigger number 2, which is range of movement. So what does this mean? So we're in a great position. So we've corrected that we're in a great position. We've got the spine in neutral. We're bracing the abdominals. Okay, great. Thanks for helping me out with that, Chris. But now I can't get down there. I can't get down very far, which is why I've been doing this to get all the way down there? Well, we've then got a couple of options. One, increase range of movement of the hip, so we can flex more and get all the way down. If we're almost there, just a little bend of the knees, and there we are. So we've got different ways, so we can improve the range of movement, we can use our knees a little bit more, and that helps us get down into the position where we want to be lifting the weight from. The next one is the endurance. So it's the fact that you're just in the position all the time. So you're always down and up, down and up. Well, in order to overcome the endurance part to it, is try and do it in smaller little blocks. So if you know that your back starts to become a problem after 50 minutes, half an hour or an hour, let's take 15 minutes. So all we would do is we would be lifting, carrying, and then placing the load wherever it is, but we would do that in little 10-minute blocks. Take a couple of minutes just to be up, stretch out the hips, give a bit of this, whatever it needs to be. Just move in some different postures. Then go back, 10 minutes again, same thing, little break, 10 minutes again, little break, 10 minutes again. That will help disperse load and remove fatigue from the lower back, which allow you to keep going on for longer. And then the fourth one is the actual load. That's a 20 kilo kettlebell here. Now, the other one is don't pick up so much in one go. So it could just be drop the weight down, make it a little bit easier for yourself. What we can then do is, what we may find to help with the range of movement, is we may try and elevate the load. So if we're in the gym, we may not try and lift from the floor, we may try and raise the weights up so we don't have to go down as far. If it's shopping bags, it's going to be a bit more of a problem because we've only got the floor and there's not a lot else. So what we have to do is, it could be just making the weight a little bit lighter. Get someone to help you lift the weight. So we've got all these different things that we could be thinking about in order to overcome these triggers, because we might be saying lifting's the problem, but what part of lifting is it? Is it the posture that you're using? If you're in a good posture, is it the range of movement because you can't get down there? Improve that range of movement. Use your knees a little bit more and your ankles to be able to lift. Is it the endurance, where we can just break up the task into smaller chunks, those little 10-minute chunks that I talked about? Or is it the actual load that's causing the problem, the fact that it's just too heavy? If you can make it lighter, make it lighter. If you can get someone to help you, get them to help you. Trigger number 3 is muscle trigger points. Now, muscle trigger points are what are known as active knots. So it's a little knot in the muscle that when you press on it, it sends a pain somewhere. Now, when we talk about lower back pain, that doesn't mean the trigger points are in the lower back, because there are some that are in the hip. So glute minimus, which is really close into the thigh bone here, just at the top at the side. Glute minimus, which is at the top of the pelvis. Then we've got muscles of the lower back, or muscles of the mid back and the lower back. So how do we go about finding whether our muscle trigger points are a problem? Well, in the profession it's called palpation, but I tend to call it glorified prodding. Yes, there is some method to it, because what we're looking for are sensitive areas. When we push in somewhere, is it sensitive? Or when we push in somewhere, does it send pain to our lower back? So if you look up muscle trigger points, glute medius or glute minimus, that will send pain into the buttocks and down the legs. It will give the illusion of sciatica. Now, a lot of people that I see don't have true sciatica. What they have are hip muscle trigger points. And a simple way of finding them is just sitting down or lying down and just taking your thumb, finding the crest of your pelvis, and then just going onto the top of that, so just below the crest. So where the ridge is at the top, go just below that, into the top part of the muscle, and just prod around in there. And if you start jumping around, if it's a bit tender, if it's a bit sensitive, there is a good chance that you've got trigger points in glute minimus and glute medius. So we need to remove those. What we can then do is in the lower back. Now again, this isn't an exhaustive method of how to find it, but this is the kind of thing that we need to be looking at so you can research more about where the muscles are and where you need to be prodding. So either side of the spine, sort of starting almost midway up the back and then just making little circles. You may feel the muscles quite solid, and then when you push into it, it's like, oh yeah, that's uncomfortable. And again, those will send it down into the base of the spine. So you've got longissimus close to the spine, iliocostalis a bit further away. But both of those will give the illusion of low back pain, where it's actually muscle trigger points. And then finally, we've got QL, which is in this sort of fleshy part between the ribs and the pelvis. So again, we can sort of prod around in there, and it's like, oh yeah, there's a bit there. Oh no, not on the left side, but yes on the right side. And we're starting to find areas that can be worked through. And again, we can do that on a foam roller and just massage them through, or we can go and get a very specific massage to those muscles. But that means you have to know the massage therapist, and you know that that's what they'll do. Some people, when they go to massage therapist, will just get a massage and it's not really working on the trigger points. So you need someone who knows about trigger points and how to work on them. Low back trigger number 4 is instability. So this could be a little micro movement in the spine. It could just be improper muscle activation around the spine. Now, this can be because of something called muscle guarding, which is, for want of a better way of describing it, very much like a back spasm or a muscle spasm, where the muscles just lock in position because what the body's doing is it's perceiving instability. So what it does, it just locks everything up to create the stability. So how we overcome that is by training our muscles not to go into spasm. So number 1, it may need some sort of massage to loosen the muscle. But once we've got to that point, what we can then start to do is use exercise to be able to activate the muscles so they create the stability, not the unconscious guarding and grabbing of the micro movement that may be in the lumbar spine. So what exercises would we use for that? Well, number 1, as I mentioned, we may need to foam roll or massage, loosen the area off. Then, once we've done that, we need to then build in the stability. So very simple exercise is a side plank. It builds up QL, external, internal obliques on the right side. We then turn around. Build up QL, internal, external obliques on the left side. We can do this on the knees, we can do it on the feet. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to get those muscles active so they stabilize, not the body doing it unconsciously. Next one, stabilize using a plank. Again, what we're looking to do here, brace the abdominals, maintain the neutral posture, brace them, hold the spine in position. So we are actively stabilizing the spine rather than the body unconsciously doing it to us. That is how we overcome this instability problem. But if we've got muscle guarding in the way, doesn't matter the amount of exercises that we do, the muscle guarding is going to be there holding, and we're going to be building on a foundation of muscle guarding, which is what we don't want. So we need to remove the muscle guarding and then build in the proper activation. And that takes some proper skill and some proper coaching to be able to do that. Because what you don't want to do is release everything, leave it all unstable, and then all the body does is goes, well, this is really unstable. Whack, back it comes again. What we need to be able to do is loosen it off and then fold in and build in the stability around those properly functioning muscles with the right exercises at the right time and in the right dose, so rep sets and time. Many thanks for watching. Hopefully it's been helpful. If you've learned anything new, please do hit the thanks button. If you've enjoyed the content, hit the like button. If you've got a comment or a question, leave it below in the comment section. And if you want to watch more tutorials like this, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, and you'll be notified when I release my next one.